Dobrodošli, dobar dan, zdravo. Welcome to Belgrade, Serbia. I'm on the road, and so I'm doing a video blog from Eastern Europe. And, I was out with a couple of friends, and we got to talking about, professional anecdotes, some of the things that we go through in life, just stories, shooting the breeze, knocking back the beers, having some really good food. And then, I was kind of marveling at the fact that my Serbian friends speak English perfectly. I mean, they're Serbs, but they speak English perfectly. Mind you, one of them went to an American school and lived in the United States for quite some time, so her particular English is more perfect than mine. But the other person is born and raised here in Serbia, travels very often, of course has to speak a foreign language if he's going to be understood anywhere else he wants to go. But what I thought was kind of bizarre was, even as I go to leave to take a whiz, or I'd get up from the table and walk away for a moment to take care of something, these two people would continue chatting in English amongst themselves, which I thought was really cool. And that to me was a very surreal moment. It doesn't happen very often where two people that can perfectly communicate in their own language end up continuing in English. Moreover, that I would sit there and that they would speak English on my behalf for me so that I could understand what they're speaking about. That says a lot about a society. I think societies where the people in social situations do that, that means outside of professional obligations, where, of course, I'm not paying you to make it easier for me, but you do it voluntarily. Societies like that are very hospitable, and it says a lot about how the people are in the society if they end up accommodating a guest. How they treat the guest, how they behave vis-a-vis the guest. Is the guest treated like, I guess, royalty, or is the guest kind of treated like an inconvenience, a wasp sting, a pain in the ass, somebody that you really don't want to deal with, and so you carry on talking in your own language, or you insist that the foreigner, for example, speaks your language. I'm thinking, of course, of the French. I mean, it's 100% bang-on example. Or the Czechs are very similar in that respect. They don't give a crap about your language. In fact, if you confront them about it and you get them very angry, then they'll kind of lash out and say, I don't need your stupid Anglo-Saxon language. I had my own language to begin with, so why don't you learn our language if you're going to spend any time here? That to me says a lot, again, about the threshold level of the society, their sympathy, their niceness, things like that. And when I'm here in Belgrade, I get a wonderful feeling of acceptance from the people that I hang out with, and in general, from varying levels of English competence. I mean, you get people in restaurants that don't speak very well, but they get along, they can count, and you can tell them what you need, and even if it's a mistake, it's kind of a gracious mistake. There's no snarls, and there's no kind of like, you're a pain in the ass, I don't need you. Is that because let's say, the tourism sector in Serbia is drastically underdeveloped, so people are very welcoming towards tourists, and if you had more tourists or foreigners in Serbia, then, people might act a little differently? I don't know. Personally, I think it has a lot to do with the Turkish or the Ottoman occupation of Serbia, which lasted almost 5 centuries. I think that the Turks, being Muslims and being very hospitable in that respect, rubbed off, that whole attitude rubbed off very strongly on the Serbs, and so they end up kind of taking it into their own culture. It is such a wonderful feeling to be around people that treat you like you're wanted, and that you as a guest have run of the roost to do as you wish, because you are the guest, and that is the law of hospitality. That is the law of the land. And that in Central Europe, be it Austria, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Germany, whatever, it just doesn't exist. It's not there. Those people, you do not receive their best face because you exist to serve them and not vice versa. That's an interesting little observation that just hit me like a brick. It's like a sack of potatoes when I was sitting there and I said, you know what, I gotta come back onto the camera and I gotta blog about this. So, what do you think? Where about in the world do you live, if it's not the US or Canada, Australia, New Zealand? How are people there? Do they accommodate you if you sit around a table and make it easier for you to get along? Or do they treat you like yesterday's unwanted trash? My name, of course, Adam Daniel Mezei, adamdanielmezei.com, dispatching from Belgrade, Bjelahrad, or Beograd, depends if you speak Czech, Serbian, or Belgrade. Wishing you Všechno nejlepší, which means the very best. of things.